Hello, and welcome to the Lenovo Work Reborn podcast, where we explore how technology, AI, and cybersecurity are reshaping the way we work. This segment of our tour, we are back at it again, live in London, interviewing top IT leaders. Each episode, we're going to bring you insights from real leaders and industry experts on how organizations can navigate today's challenges and unlock tomorrow's opportunities. From making sense of complex data, to simplifying IT environments, to delivering real business outcomes, Lenovo is helping businesses of every size reimagine what's possible. Join us as we dive into the future of work. Work Reborn. Let's go. So hey there, Alexander. My name is Rita. I'm really excited to welcome you to the Lenovo Work Reborn podcast. Would you mind telling our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Alexander Wardlaw. I'm the head of security for Cadent Gas Limited, basically the largest company that maintains the infrastructure for our gas networks in the UK.
And what does your day-to-day typically look like? What kind of, we don't need to get into specifics, but what kind of things are your team working on to further the organization that you're in?
So I'm 10 weeks into the role, so still quite new. So every day is different. One of our main focuses at the minute, though, is digitizing the operational technology network and securing it for future generations. So it's allowing the business to embrace new initiatives like hydrogen within the gas network, biomethane, some really, really big sort of changes, but also how to manage it more efficiently and remotely from the wide range of areas that we've got and the different infrastructure we have across the network.
So, Alex, I don't know if you know this, but we interviewed like over 600 senior IT leaders in a course of multiple reports. So one of them is the focus that we're talking about right now, which is AI and cybersecurity.
Sure.
And a lot of folks had a lot of insights about, where we're at in the industry, what's going on, and where we're heading in the future.
Yep.
And it was interesting because about 1/3 of the respondents, the IT organizations, classified themselves as advanced, meaning they had proactive, predictive, and hyper-personalized approaches, and they were really like working towards going to the next level of their IT and their security. What's your North Star when it comes to evolving your digital workplace?
I think we've just completed a massive transformation within our workforce around trying to simplify our applications, trying to simplify what our engineers have to actually contend with. Yeah, I think something that I even didn't appreciate until I was in the company, that was actually 80% of our workforces are working outside of a van. They're literally going into people's homes and making sure that their gas supply is there of good quality, good safety, and it's contained. So whilst they're under pressure and they've got like really, really tight deadlines, the last thing they need is having many, many different platforms that they have to individually access or interrogate to get the information they need to get their job done. It even goes all the way back down to the dispatch guys. It's trying to make everything as efficient as possible because they're managing 6,000 to 7,000 people in varying different methods and contracts.
So that's a lot of people, first of all.
Yep.
And there's probably a lot of complexity that comes with that. Is that right?
Yeah.
What obstacles do you find you're facing with your team as it comes to introducing AI into that on the day-to-day, and not just like for marketing purposes, but like, for the IT capacity?
I think that above all, it's having viable use cases. So everyone sees the sort of AI golden ticket. They see the like all the stats about reducing the workforce and the workforce tasks by 40 odd % by 2028. That was one of the stats that we saw in Gartner today. And that's all well and great, but actually it's sort of just bringing the reins a tiny bit back just to say, look, completely understand the relevance of the tool, the advantages for the business, but let's take a step back and let's actually make sure that we've got the right security around it. We're using approved methods of accessing these tools that can be incredibly powerful on many different fronts, good and bad. And also, how is our data structured? So we're giving the tools the best chance to succeed rather than going in half-baked and then ending up in a really odd situation where we're not achieving our goals and actually hindering the business from that perspective.
Right. I have been talking to a lot of leaders, and they've talked about how traditionally cybersecurity, and it's a bit of a eye roll moment, but cybersecurity is something that wasn't really viewed as an investment. But now we feel that it should be as a result of all these tools that are being introduced. It would be a hindrance to not consider that first and foremost prior to implementation of all of these gadgets. What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree, disagree?
It's always in the eye of the beholder.
Right.
So we've got to, I think as a profession, we've got to make sure that we're open to the fact that we have to justify our existence. We are a cost to the business. That is like out and out. That is what it is. We're not profit generators unless we're in the recorded futures, the Livonos of the world that rely on cybersecurity as a sales perspective. But for 90 odd percent of the companies, they are a cost, they are a burden. So we've got to make sure that we're getting the right value and the best value for the business, but also presenting our concerns, our risks, our investment strategies to maximize the potential ROI, but also maximize the awareness that everyone has around it. So it isn't a surprise, it isn't an unknown or seen as witchcraft or wizardry. It needs to be known, it needs to be simplistic, and it needs to be treated like any other business risk. Because at the end of the day, the impacts are going to be business wide.
Yeah, I mean, in some of the findings that we did in our research, business interruption is a really big concern as a result of cyber criminal activity, and it affects your reputation as well. If there's a data leak or
Yeah.
anything like that, yeah, that can cost the company a lot of money to
Yeah.
deal with. But on the positive side, what are some things that you're doing within the organization that are helping like productivity or the employee experience that are like advances that you find are working for you?
I think the biggest thing is we've gone through quite a big change, big structural reorganizational change, but that also means challenge as well. I think one of the biggest things that I've tried to promote, even within the 10 weeks that I've been in the position, is that actually we are there to serve the business. We are there to help them achieve their goals. So one of the biggest things I've done is try to emphasize on my team that, we have to be human centric. We have to have relatable and realistic solutions, and that we are there to support the business, not the other way around. So it's trying to break down some silos, trying to develop relationships right across the directorates, and above all, just being open, being available to the board, because it needs that knowledge at that level to have the impacts that we need them to drive. So any sort of initiatives or future asks that we may have.
It's all about bringing life to the workplace, right?
Yeah.
Thinking about that human element as well.
Yeah.
What do you think the future of work looks like? We call it Work Reborn. We're going into this new era. It's a rebirth, right? What does that look like to you?
I think we're seeing a lot of big corporates, banking, especially, or consultancy, where they're having that challenge of hybrid versus on-site working,
Right.
and that's gonna play out for quite some time. A lot of businesses, Cadent included, and my previous employer, never had hybrid before. It was very rare.
Always remote or always in person?
Always in person.
Wow.
Obviously, COVID has had that effect, and it's had massive bonuses and massive benefits. Like, we've had a much wider increase of recruitment from various areas, or people have moved away from population centers, and we've embraced it. We really have. The upshot of that is the increased flexibility. If we're working from home and we need to just quickly go and get the car serviced, we can work from anywhere, and that's great. It's almost surprising to me that Cadent didn't have it before, because, like I said before, most of our workforce are out of vans, so they are mobile everywhere. So I think in the future we may see more companies bringing more staff on site, probably for an increase of days, but at the same time they'll have to balance that between the talent management and what looks good for both the company and the employee. We'll probably see a lot more disruptive technologies as well, like AI taking hold, but at the same time being tempered by actual business use cases, and the ones that will be successful is the ones that have taken them on that journey, not just having a good idea club and then trying to implement it otherwise.
At the end of the day, it's all about those business outcomes, right?
Mm.
Amazing. Well, Alexander, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, and hopefully, our listeners will feel encouraged by the fact that we are all figuring it out together, right? And if you are still interested in learning more about this conversation and the findings from our Work Reborn report, make sure you download the Work Reborn report by scanning the QR code. It'll be somewhere on the screen over here. Or if you're listening to the podcast, you can click the link in the description below. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Lenovo Work Reborn podcast. To learn more about how Lenovo is helping organizations transform with AI, cybersecurity, and smarter IT solutions, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next conversation. And also, we'd love to hear from you. Make sure to leave a comment with any other questions that you would like us to discuss on our next episodes. See you next time.
Lenovo.